The 30th anniversary of Mega Man X, the game that redefined the platformer genre, is here. The game is widely perceived by many to be one of the greatest of the Super Nintendo and the 16-bit era in general. So we're going to revisit the past, analyze its gameplay mechanics, and see if Mega Man X truly stands the test of time. Let's begin. Mega Man X was released on December 17th, 1993 for the Super Famicom, and on January 19th, 1994 for the NES. The game also got a PC release in the summer of 1995, but we don't talk about the MS-DOS Mega Man games. The game is seen by many as one of the greatest games of the 16-bit era, getting almost perfect scores across all sorts of major game reviewers. The game starts off sometime in the 22nd century with a showcase of the specs for Mega Man X, the character, not the game, which gives us some pretty sweet info about the character. We then get a message from the man himself, Dr. Light. He explains that X is the first of a new generation of robots that can think and act of their own free will like humans can. He states that, while innovative, it could also spell out doom for humanity. The name X means limitless potential, like the variable. Hell, there's even a song from the game called Variable X. Light then states to ensure that X knows right from wrong, he must be sealed away and automatically have his morality tested for the next 30 years. So I guess he's done now? Unfortunately, Light does not live to see the day that X is finished, and he's instead left for about 100 years before being discovered by Dr. Kane. Dr. Kane analyzes X and Dr. Light's blueprints and creates Reploids, free-thinking robots that are similar to X. Later on, these Reploids begin to cause havoc and destruction and reject their orders. These robots were infected with the Maverick virus, that of which we'll discuss in Part 2. To combat this, the Maverick Hunters were formed, being led by the strongest Reploid of that era, Sigma. However, Sigma ends up getting the Maverick virus himself and goes crazy. Who would have thunk it? Now we actually get to play the game. We start on off a highway with our best pal Zero, who I'm sure will have nothing bad happen to him in the near future. After making our way through, we encounter Vile, a robot specifically designed to kick gum and chew ass. Kick gum and chew ass, goddammit. Vile actually used to be a skilled Maverick Hunter himself, but he got too violent and was arrested. Crazy, right? The robot with a massive gun attached to his shoulder named Vile got too violent? Vile tells X to give him his lunch money or he's in for a darn good wallop before Zero steps in. Vile knows that Zero is the captain of the football team and nobody messes with him, so he runs away like a little bitch. Jokes aside, Zero states that he should take it from here, but one day, X could be powerful enough to, do Zero's chores? The Maverick Hunters try to locate Sigma. X goes through the 8 Maverick stages: Chill Penguin, Spark Mandrill, Armored Armadillo, Launch Octopus, Boomer Kuwanger, Sting Chameleon, Storm Eagle, and Flame Mammoth. Collects the upgrades and heart capsules, and scurries over to Sigma's fortress. Zero goes ahead and X follows behind. Zero spots Vile and goes to fight him, but Vile had a trick up his sleeve and traps Zero in an electric cage. X rushes in to stop Vile, but he's too powerful. A broken battered X stands before Vile. As Vile goes in for the kill, Zero uses all his strength to break free from the cage and grabs onto Vile, sacrificing himself to save X and defeat Vile, but this had only gone through his armor. Through some unforeseen power, X regains his strength and defeats Vile. In Zero's dying moments, he gives X his buster and tells him that he must go on and defeat Sigma for the greater good of humanity. X advances through the rest of Sigma's fortress before reaching Sigma himself. X engages in robo-animal cruelty and defeats Sigma. X escapes the collapsing fortress to a nearby cliff, where he thinks about peace and war while listening to 2010's Soft Rock. Mega Man X is a great game, and the Super Nintendo, hell, Capcom wouldn't be the same without it. The difficulty is a bit tougher than the classic series, but that makes sense as the X series was meant to be more mature than the classic series, as mature as an E-rated game could be. Instead of Robot Masters, this game, and the X series to come, features animal-based robots. Chill Penguin is the easiest of the bunch. He takes knockback from the X-Buster and gives you the most integral piece of the X1 armor, the boots. And it's the only armor piece, besides Zero's Buster, that you get just by progressing through the game. In my opinion, Launch Octopus is the toughest of the 8. Dear God, never choose the stage first. Well said, man. Not only is the stage itself a nightmare, but the son of a bitch you have to fight at the end of it feels like trying to mow a lawn with nail clippers. The difficulty of these Maverick levels are definitely scattered. One level could be a cakewalk, while the other could be hell. I feel like the placement of the armor upgrades and some of the heart capsules were hidden a little too well. You're gonna need a guide for these, and pretty much all the other upgrades in the series. While on the surface, the gameplay mimics the NES Mega Man games, they're actually pretty different. E-tanks from the classic series are now sub-tanks, which can be found in certain Maverick stages. You can have up to 4 of them, and they're only filled by collecting health upgrades while your health is full. They stay with you when used, and in my opinion, aren't better or worse than E-tanks. The armor allows X to dash, reduce damage taken by half, and boost your charge shot, and break ceilings. It really balances the game out, especially the chest piece. The low maximum health that you start off with makes the game more balanced and challenging at the same time. You can increase it by searching for heart capsules, and get bonuses with the armor upgrades. The movement in this game is great. It feels so satisfying to dash and jump around in the game. Overall, this game is definitely, without a doubt, my favorite Mega Man X game, and one of my favorite Mega Man games in general. It's certainly a good one to come back to every once in a while. Mega Man X wouldn't be Mega Man X without its secrets and fun facts, so let's go over some. Mega Man X is the first in the franchise's history to have an opening stage. After defeating Launch Octopus, the weapon you get will be called Horming Torpedo. Speaking of Launch Octopus, in the North American box art for the game, Launch Octopus is colored entirely purple and has an open mouth instead of a vent. Boomer Kuwanger's theme sounds very similar to Tomahawk Band's theme, likely because they have the same key signature, and BPM, and time signature, and year, and composer. Zero was planned to be a new Mega Man of sorts. Mega Man was planned to be red from the start, but since the character of the Blue Bomber has already been established, Keiji and Inafune thought that it probably wouldn't be a good idea to do that, so they made him into his own character, but Zero still ended up being just as iconic as X. Of course, we can't not talk about the Hadoken. After doing a bunch of backtracking and getting all the upgrades, at the end of Armored Armadillo stage, if you jump towards and scale up this wall, you can reach a light capsule where you get the Hadoken. It's executed the same way as it is in Street Fighter, and it one-shots everything as long as you're at full health. Mega Man X is a timeless classic that helped make Mega Man what it is today. Sure, it's challenging, but it's very rewarding. It created some of the most iconic characters in the franchise, and is actually starting to become more popular than the classic Mega Man series. Not sure how I feel about that, though. Mega Man X gets first place in my Mega Man X ranking. Mega Man X2 was released on December 16th, 1994 for the Super Famicom, and on January 1st, 1995 for the Super Nintendo. The game was a much-deserved sequel to a great game. While not scoring as high as its predecessor, it still did very well and was a great way to continue the series. The game starts off with the most badass opening of all time, telling us that it's only been 6 months since the events of X1, and there are still Mavericks running around, but they believe that the last of them are located at an abandoned Reploid factory. X and another Reploid arrive at said factory, we watch the saddest death in all of video games, and make our way through the factory. We then see 3 mysterious figures talking about the collection process, which will be important later. Conveniently, right after this, 8 robots are overtaken by the Maverick virus and begin causing chaos around the area. These Mavericks are Wheel Gator, Bubble Crab, Flame Stag, Morph Moth, Magna Centipede, Crystal Snail, Overdrive Ostrich, and Wire Sponge. As X is tearing through these Mavericks, he encounters the X-Hunters, Violin, Agile, and Surgus. These are the 3 mysterious figures from earlier. They claim that Zero is in fact not dead, but they need his control chip if they actually want him to do anything, that of which is in possession of Dr. Kane. After hundreds of attempts to beat these sons of bitches, X receives Zero's parts. X hunts the X-Hunters and infiltrates their fortress. After getting through the X-Hunters and this goddamn level, Agile informs us in his final moments that Sigma is back. X reaches Sigma himself, who has rebuilt Zero. Zero gets ready to charge at X. Unfortunately, this Zero is made out of cardboard and duct tape, since X took Zero's real parts. The real Zero swoops in, destroys the fake Zero, and scares Sigma off. Zero goes to take out the central computer, and X chases after Sigma. X defeats Sigma, and the fortress collapses. As this happens, Sigma says that the Zero is the last of the Doctor's creations, this Doctor being Dr. Wily. X and Zero escape the base and once again ponder the reason for all of this fighting, and if it will ever end. While not as good as X1 in my opinion, X2 is still quite the game. You can always count on Mega Man sequels to deliver the best follow-ups. X2 is balls hard, but the armor upgrades in the game make up for it. The X2 armor definitely has more utility than the X1 armor. With the X2 armor, you can search for hidden items, reduce damage by half, and use the Giga Crush, which vaporizes all enemies on screen, mostly. Boost your charge shot, and dash in midair. 10 times better than the X armor, without a doubt. There's not really an easiest Maverick here, but there sure as hell is a hardest. I would rather eat glass than play through Overdrive Ostrich's stage. This stage is tedious, the music isn't that appealing, and don't even get me started on the actual boss fight. This is horrid. How the hell do you dodge this shit? Anyway, the game's overall music is great when it wants to be, especially the X-Hunter stages and Flame Stag. The sprites are very fitting and clean. The game is still pretty difficult, but like anything that requires skill, with a little practice, you should be all good. Mega Man X2 is the only game in the X series to have a final battle take place in the previous stage, in this case, Magna Centipede's stage. X2 is the only game in the X series to not get a PC release during its initial release phase. Flame Stag is one of 3 Mavericks with the Flame prefix, the other 2 being Flame Mammoth from X1 and Flame Henyard from X7. Wire Sponge is the first Maverick to be based on a plant instead of an animal. Sponge is a loofah... Jesus, how do you pronounce this? Algae something. A species of sponge found in Southern Asia. If you enter this code while holding the down, left, R, jump, and fire buttons in the password screen, you'll start at the second X-Hunter stage with all the upgrades, sub-tanks, and the Shoryuken. Oh yeah, the Shoryuken. First, you have to get all the upgrades and collectibles, then go to Agile stage in the X Hunter base, find the secret capsule, and get the Shoryuken. It's executed in the same way as in Street Fighter, and like the Hadoken, it can one-shot everything. Mega Man X2 is a well-deserved sequel that, like the last game, provides a unique challenge but rewarding gameplay. There's lots of lore that comes from this game, like the origins of Zero. This game has lots more of the franchise's iconic music, and the game overall is a classic. Mega Man X2 gets second place in my Mega Man X ranking. Mega Man X3 was released on December 1st, 1995 for the Super Famicom and on January 30th, 1996 for the Super Nintendo, along with a PC release on January 1st, 1997. It's still a Mega Man X title, however, I didn't really like it as much as the other two. So let's see what happened with this one. The game begins by telling us that there may be a cure for the Maverick virus. Scientist Dr. Doppler was designing a cure and getting a town named after him, but when a group of Mavericks were about to be cured, they lashed out and began to riot. It was later revealed that Dr. Doppler was the one behind the revolt. X and Zero set out to destroy the 8 Mavericks to bring Doppler to justice. These Mavericks are Blast Hornet, Blizzard Buffalo, Toxic Seahorse, Tunnel Rhino, Volt Catfish, Crush Crawfish, Neon Tiger, and Gravity Beetle. However, on their way to Doppeltown, yes, it's called Doppeltown, X and Zero receive word that the Hunter base is under attack, so they retreat back there where X is kidnapped by Mac, an ex-Hunter who went Maverick during this time. Zero swoops in and runs off to save X, and you actually get to play as him, only for a little while though. You defeat Mac and rescue X, and fight through the rest of the opening stage as X. After that, the two head back to Doppeltown to take care of the 8 Mavericks. As this is happening, the Nightmare Police, consisting of Bit and Byte, are informed by Doppler to bring X to him. An enhanced and resurrected Vile comes in, telling Doppler that he can help too, before Doppler tells him to not talk while the adults are talking. Vile ambushes X in a factory and traps him there as he tries to blow it up. Thankfully, he has the exact same attack pattern for both of his phases, so he's not a problem. X narrowly escapes the factory and keeps moving. Later, he encounters Bit, who swore to defeat X if it's the last thing he does, and he has the exact same attack pattern. Awesome. X keeps destroying the Mavericks before encountering Byte. Byte must finish what Bit started and destroy X once and for all. Do you want to know what his attack pattern is? The same shit as before. After defeating the 8 Mavericks and scaring off the Nightmare Police, X and Zero return to Dr. Kane's lab, where he tells the two that Doppler was trying to create a new body for someone. I wonder who this someone could be. Dr. Kane tells the two the location of Dr. Doppler's hideout, and they set out to stop the madness. X defeats Dr. Doppler, and he comes to his senses to tell X to defeat Sigma once and for all. X and Sigma meet, and Sigma turns into a computer virus, his true form. He chases X down and backs him into a corner. He closes in to possess X and use him to take over the world. Zero swoops in and slices Sigma apart with a Z-Saber, fused with the antivirus designed to put an egg to Sigma. Sigma claims to return someday and fades away as his fortress explodes. X and Zero escape to a nearby cliff to once again ponder over all the endless fighting. So, what do I think of Mega Man X3?
I mean, it's alright, like...
It did what 3 equals 2 best, which was to be a third installment. In my opinion, it wasn't all too revolutionary. Oh, and might I mention the difficulty of this game? Holy shit. If X2 was balls hard, then X3 is nuts arduous. It took me so long to beat this game, and it wasn't because of a particular stage or anything. This whole game had me wanting to throw my controller through the screen at so many points in this game, and it only gets worse. One thing this game did do right though, was balancing out the difficulties of the 8 Mavericks. The sprites look pretty good, about the same as the last 2 games though. The music's got some good parts, but other than that it just sounds okay. The armor in this game allows you to dash in midair, reduce damage by 50%, generate a shield to further reduce damage by 25%, boost your X-Buster, and help you locate secret items. So pretty much the same as the X2 armor, along with the shield, which I guess is a pretty good upgrade if I'm being honest. The game is super tough, but like the other 2 games, the armor makes up for that. Overall, it's pretty alright. So far we're at the bottom of the list, but we still have 5 more games in the X series to review. Mega Man X3 is the only game in the X series without a fire-themed Maverick. You probably didn't even notice this one, but Mega Man X3 was the only game in the X series without Mets. Mega Man X3 is the first in the X series that features swearing. It's damn, but I mean, it's still swearing. In the PC version of the game, Blizzard Buffalo's name is spelled Blizzard Buffalo. Mega Man X3 was an alright continuation of the story. It still got that classic Mega Man X feel, but it's not the most fun experience in my opinion. It's not a poorly put together game or anything, I just think it's the same as the previous 2, but more difficult just for the sake of being difficult. Mega Man X3 gets 3rd place in my Mega Man X ranking. Mega Man X was the game that truly helped bring life to the Super Nintendo. It's a timeless classic, and it's made the franchise and the company what it is today. X2 was a well-needed sequel that did the job well, and then some. The sequel was almost as good as the original. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for X3. While it was still good, it still had that Mega Man X feel, but it ultimately fails when it comes to its originality and difficulty. So far, the trilogy is a great way to show what the future is like in the Mega Man universe, and the franchise wouldn't be the same without it. If you want to stay tuned for the other 2 parts of this series, please subscribe with notifications turned on so you'll be notified when I make more Mega Man X videos. Oh, I could have worded that one differently.